All set.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the August 4th Town Council meeting. We'll open up with a moment of silence. Before we do the moment of silence, I'd like to dedicate tonight's meeting in memory of William A. Verasso, otherwise known, also fondly known to many in Braintree as Officer Bill Verasso. Officer Bill Verasso was a World War II veteran. He served the U.S. Navy aboard the USS Underhill. He was a Purple Heart recipient. He was a Braintree police officer and served as a school safety officer. He was involved in so many organizations throughout town. He was also a town meeting member. I think it's only appropriate that we start out this meeting by having a moment of silence and also dedicating this meeting tonight to his memory. Thank you, and thank you, Officer Bill, for your service. May you rest in peace. I'd also like to have another moment of silence, if we could, for the Marines and sailor who served our country, who lost their lives this last week. Those individuals are Lance Corporal Guillermo, Perez, Private First Class Brian Baltiera, Lance Corporal Marco Barranco, Private First Class Evan Bath, Hospital Man Christopher Nem, Private First Class Jack Ostrowski, Corporal Wesley Rod, Lance Corporal Chase Sweetwood, and Corporal Cesar Villanueva. We could have another moment of silence for them and all of our men and women serving our country to protect us every day. Thank you all. Clerk Semino, if we could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Barrica.
Here.
Councilor Connors.
Here.
Councilor Flaherty.
Here.
Councilor Hume.
Here.
Councilor Mackin.
Here.
Councilor O'Brien.
Present.
Councilor Ringus. Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan.
Here.
Councilor Sasha.
Here.
Okay, Sue, I don't know if we can copy and share that. So there has been some residents asking about how they can access our meetings, gain information. So, and Councilor Barrica, thank you for asking about this in the link. So what I decided to do each meeting, the beginning of the meeting on our agendas, we're going to have a list of all the ways you can access our meeting, whether it be agendas, emails, whatnot. And Sue was able to share it. So if you are in attendance with us tonight, if you go to the chat that is up there, this is one of the ways. But for agenda and documents, there's a link on the Town of Braintree's website. It is braintreema.gov/agenda center. There's also email. You can email all town councilors, that's all 9 of us, including the clerk of the council, to towncouncil@braintreema.gov. There's also a meeting notice posting link. That's too long to read, so we're going to put that in the chat. We'll put that up on the Facebook page. If you email any of us, we'll get you onto a group that can put this information out to you. Our Facebook page is Braintree Town Council. And then how do I sign up to receive meeting town information? This is for any organization, committee, mayor's office, town council. Go to braintreema.gov/78/sign-up-4. This is why we're going to put it in the chat because I'm having trouble speaking tonight, so I apologize for that. To be added to the town council agenda distribution list, you can email Semino, that's SCIMINO @braintreema.gov. That goes right to Sue Semino, who is the clerk of the council. We'll be putting these things up in the chat throughout the meeting, so long as the technology allows us to do so. And for the Zoom webinar, if you have questions, you want to ask a question, but cannot access the webinar, You can call Sue Semino directly. You can text her during the meeting. Her cell phone number is 339-987-2726. So we have multiple public hearings tonight. There's many of residents in attendance tonight that I see. If you can raise your hand when I call for the public to open. The committee, the panel will have be able to speak first, then we'll open it up to the public. I will let you all know. So raise your hand if you're not able to that and you are a call-in. You can text Sue at that time, or if you want to use the chat and you have a question, if we can get to the question in tonight's meeting and it's relevant and we can answer it, we will do our best to answer all these questions. I will take care of those questions. So with that, we will be moving on to announcements. So item 02420, Council President, Community Conversations on Racial and Social Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So I announced last time that we were going to be bringing in a consultant to do a workshop with the council as well as all town department heads and possibly school committee members. As you can all imagine, this is a hot topic not only in Braintree, but throughout this entire country. We had a few individuals we were looking at who came highly recommended. Dr. Frank Hackett, Superintendent of Schools, has reached out to many of his contacts and has been working on this. We've been working collaboratively with the school superintendent and the mayor's office on all this, as well as our first responders. It is becoming an issue because everybody is booked, because these individuals who are local are now traveling throughout the country because there is such a high demand. So we are going to get the best person and the most appropriate. So that is the update tonight. We do not have anybody firmed up just yet because again, it's scheduling right now that is holding us up and the high demand for the interest in that. Next on the announcements, 02720, Council President. Okay, if anybody else has another announcement and they want to go now, because I seem to have misplaced this paper. Councilor Baraka, do you want to talk about August is Recovery Month and August 31st, International Overdose Awareness Day?
Yep, I'll be happy to do that. So as the council representative on Braintree's community partnership for substance use prevention, we will be holding a virtual vigil on August 31st. And consider this an invitation to anybody who is listening, but there'll be more details to follow. So there's going to be two parts to the day. There will be a butterfly release at French's Common at 10 a.m. in the morning. Please note, we have to wear masks, socially distance, all of the COVID-19 rules and protocols will be strictly adhered to. And then in the evening, there will be a virtual vigil. Thank you to Mayor Kokoros, who will be joining with Quincy and Weymouth as well during that evening. And as you pass by Town Hall at the end of this month, you will see purple and white pennants draped amongst the trees. And bear with me one second. I'm gonna try to find the number. So the purple pennants are going to represent Massachusetts residents who have lost their lives to overdose. And the white pennants among those will be Braintree residents. And there sadly will be more than 2,000 pennants hung. And just one more tag on to that, if I may, which is July 26th was the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act signing into law. So huge, huge milestone for the country, but I don't think a lot of people know that addiction and substance use disorders are covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So please make use of that if this is an issue that impacts you or someone you love.
Thank you, Councilor Baraka. And I found the announcement on the election workers. So as many of you may have heard, we have many elections coming before us. Town Clerk Jim Casey has expressed a need for poll workers, especially this year. He is in dire need for all the elections coming up. For the September 1st state primary election. To become a poll worker, you are required to be an active registered voter. The work schedule for full-time positions is 6 a.m. until the closing of the polls, which is approximately 10 p.m. And for part-time positions, 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. or 2 p.m. until closing of the polls, again, approximately 10 p.m. Election workers are paid $12.75 per hour and training is available. If you are interested, please contact the town clerk's office by telephone at 781-794-8240. And again, Sue, if you could get that number and email up during the chat. And the email to the town clerk is townclerk@braintree.ma.gov. Again, if you're interested in working the polls during these elections, and remember the council voted for 3 polling places, so there will only be 3 polling places this year: East Middle School, South Middle School, or Braintree. So that's where you will be stationed on that particular day. Anybody else, Counselor, have an announcement? Seeing none, we are moving on to approval of the minutes, June 16th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made by Counselor Ryan, seconded by Counselor Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Counselor Barica,
Yes.
Counselor Connors,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Yes.
Counselor Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin,
Yes.
Counselor O'Brien,
Aye.
Counselor Ringus, not present, Counselor Ryan,
And aye.
Counselor Sasha,
Yes.
8 in favor.
Thank you, Clerk Semino. Moving on to communications, a report from the Mayor's Office, 01220, Council President COVID-19 update. We have with us tonight Mayor Kokoros, our Chief of Staff and Town Solicitor, Nicole Taub, Director of Municipal Licenses and Inspections, Mayor Beth McGrath, whose team has been in charge of this whole COVID pandemic. We also have our, get to those later, the other department heads. But Mayor Kokoros, who from your staff would like to speak on this?
You can have Mary Beth give an update.
Director McGrath. Oh, we got to unmute you.
Good evening, Council President and Council members. Thank you for entertaining us this evening. So we're back for a COVID update with you. We have the last few days, fortunately, have had relatively low or 0 cases, which is great. Our total number, our cumulative number since the start of the COVID pandemic event here in Braintree is 930, which is relatively high. 57.5% of those numbers represent long-term care facilities / assisted living facilities. However, 42.5% represent community positive cases, which is concerning. We are on a bi-weekly conference call with the state health department on Tuesdays and Fridays, and they definitely indicated on the call today that cases in Massachusetts are rising, and the concern associated with that is that there have been reports and proven reports of very large gatherings, large parties, and events that are occurring. And many of you may have observed the governor's press conferences on a daily basis. But one thing that he's been talking about over the last week is please to avoid the large gatherings and parties that have been noted as occurring because they are contributing to the spread of community spread of coronavirus. So I would encourage that we all listen to the governor's message and take heed in that, because that is one way that community spread is occurring. And as we move into the fall, there are some things that we need to also consider around not only coronavirus, but also it's a flu season. So complicated flu season, add coronavirus to that, and it's not a very pleasant mix that we were trying to do everything we can to avoid. So we're now engaging in reviewing our plans for our flu clinics. And then I don't know at this point when we may be seeing a vaccine for coronavirus. They're talking probably late winter or into the early spring, but again, that's very fluid. So the flu clinics will be, and many of you have participated in our flu clinics, the flu clinics will be a really good exercise in how we will conduct our vaccination programs for coronavirus too. We continue as well in the community to participate in reopening requirements and reviewing those with establishments. We are getting a lot of complaints regarding violations or observed violations of the requirements for each of the opening or for each of the specific sector industries. So as we receive complaints, as I've mentioned in the past, we take them on a case-by-case basis, go out and investigate. If a violation is determined, then we follow the progressive discipline, and if not, then the establishment still receives a report that no violations were observed.
Thank you, Director McGrath, for that. Any counselor have a question for Director McGrath regarding COVID? No? Again, Mary Beth, I want to thank you and your staff. I know it's no easy task and it is an ongoing issue, and we have sometimes a small spike, but as you said, our numbers have still been relatively low. So hope everybody still continues to do their part and the trend still goes down. So thank you for all your due diligence and work and hard and everybody coming together and collaborating on this. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to old business. 20044, the mayor amendment to the town zoning map, general business district, which is Liberty and Grove Streets, or take up any action relative thereto. We will be opening the public hearing shortly. However, Mayor Kokoros, as I said, is with us in attendance tonight, would like to speak on this matter. Mayor Kokoros.
Thank you very much, Madam President and council members. I would just like to make a few comments about these two orders in regards to Liberty and Grove Street. First, I would like to thank the Ordinance and Rules Committee for a unanimous vote to support the rezone, as well as the Ways and Means Committee for a unanimous vote to support the purchase through the Community Preservation Funds of one of the oldest homes in Braintree and open space land. The goal back in January was to come up with a solution in regards to the 40B that was and still is before us, before the ZBA. And in doing so, we reached out to Mr. Clements and worked with my staff. Melissa was the point person in which we worked to try to come up with a different use and try to find a way of preserving this land and not have it completely developed and really overdeveloped based on 40B guidelines. So I thank Melissa, I thank Mr. Clements for working through this COVID situation and accomplishing a great final product. I think that, you know, I've said it before that this is a win-win because it does two things. It takes a very dilapidated building that is sitting vacant for a number of years and rezones that area to redevelop and modernize and beautify that particular area. And at the same time, the second item that you'll discuss will provide us with more open space that we control and the purchase of a very historic house. So I ask tonight that you support both of these items. And I know that, you know, we're not quite in the public hearing portion yet, but I ask that you fully support both of these items. And I think that the hard work that my staff has done and the hard work that you have done through committee, the final solution will be great, a great and successful rezone and purchase of land for the town of Braintree. And I thank you for giving me the time to speak. And once again, I do ask for your vote for both of these items. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kokoros. I am going to open the public hearing. I just want, for those in attendance tonight, to let you know who else is here with us. Obviously, we have the 8 of the counselors, as stated earlier, Councilor Ringus could not be here tonight. We also have Melissa Santucci from the Planning Department and Director Christine Stickney. If anybody has any questions, we also have with us the developer, George Clements, his attorney. And with that, is there a motion to open the public hearing on order 20044?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion made by Councilor Ryan, seconded by Councilor Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Council Verica,
Yes.
Council Connors,
Aye.
Council Flaherty,
Yes.
Council Hume,
Aye.
Council Mackin.
Aye.
Council O'Brien,
Aye.
Council Ringus not present. Council Ryan,
Yes.
Council Sasha,
Yes.
8 in favor.
That is unanimous. So we are now in the public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak? If you are on the Zoom video call, raise your hand and I will call on you. We have several in attendance, so I'm going to go with the first I see, not necessarily maybe the first hand because I can't get everybody on my screen. So Matt Gaines, I'm going to allow you to talk. Just state your name and address for the record, please. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. My name is Matt Gaines. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Marcus Arrico, Emmer and Brooks, and I represent William and Gail Proulx, who are the owners of 371 Grove Street, immediately abutting this proposed rezoning area. I just have a few comments tonight. I've already spoken to some of the other committees that have been discussing this. And I want to start by saying I'm a big believer in that if you like the view of your property line, or your neighbor's property over your line, then take a picture of it because your neighbor has certain rights within the confines of zoning bylaws to do what he wants on his property. But if you buy a home in a residential zone with residential zoning all around it, you can also rightfully expect that the character of your surrounding properties will remain residential. Similarly, if you buy a home with a commercial zone right next door, you can expect commercial development to occur. Here, my client, the Proulx, bought a home in a residential zone with residential zoning immediately surrounding them. The property at 365 is currently residentially zoned, and obviously the proposal is to change it to general business. This is not a situation where the council is considering changing the zoning on the land next to the Proulx from, say, Residence A to Residence B, thus still keeping the general character as residential. Here, you are voting to change the zoning from residential to business. That's a fundamental change, altering the character of the Proulx neighborhood, and it would certainly be detrimental to the Proulx. What I can't really understand, I guess, is why the council is considering, if they do vote in favor of this, of helping really one property owner, the applicant here, to the detriment of others. As you know, rezoning is supposed to be in the best interest of the town. I question how this particular rezoning is in the best interest of the town. I can tell you it's not. It's really in the best interest of one property owner, again, who is the applicant, to the detriment of others. This zoning change is a prime example of spot zoning, which is subject to challenge. If you read the court cases, they have held that a town council is empowered to amend a zoning ordinance when the character and use of a district or the surrounding area have become so changed since the original ordinance was enacted that the public health, morals, and safety and welfare would be promoted if a change were made in the boundaries for the district. The court further stated that mere economic gain to the owner of a comparatively small area is not sufficient cause to involve an exercise of this amending power for the benefit of such owner. If you approve this change, you will be setting a dangerous precedent in the town by amending zoning for the economic gain of one owner. Rezoning, again, should be in the best interest of the whole town. I would note that the rezoning here is really solely done to stop a 40B project, as the mayor stated earlier. It seems to me that encouraging affordable housing is much more in the interest of the town than promoting a CVS. Finally, while the Proulx hope you do not approve this amendment, if you are inclined to do so, at the very least, you must undertake efforts to protect all abutters, including the Proulx. There's a very easy solution to do that. You need to stop the presses on this amendment for the moment to enable the town to engage in meaningful discussions with the applicant regarding the purchase of a sliver of land at 365 Grove to create a buffer between 365 and the Proulx. In March, the mayor himself mentioned this as a possibility during a meeting with the Proulx and Councillor Mackin. In June, Councillor Mackin sent an email to the mayor asking the mayor to circle back to the possibility of using CPA funds to purchase a buffer. I'll conclude by asking a question to the council that I hope someone will answer when I'm done, and whether or not a meaningful conversation has occurred between the town and the applicant about purchasing a buffer in this area. I suspect the answer is no, because in speaking with Attorney Modestino, he's implied such conversations did not occur and indicated his client might even be open to this. Given the applicant expressed an openness to conveying a sliver of land to the town to create a buffer for the Proulx, I suggest that you hit pause on this item until those discussions can occur. There's certainly no harm in doing so. I appreciate the council's time and consideration of the Proulx concerns with this amendment.
Thank you, Attorney Gaines. Anybody else from the public wish to speak, or would anybody from the mayor's office like to address that? We're gonna, you know what, we're gonna let the public speak first, then we're gonna go to the mayor's office and the council. So right now, anyone else from the public wish to speak? I see Carol, is it Zek? I'm gonna allow you to talk and unmute you, go ahead.
Okay, it's Carol Czech, and I live up on Thetford Ave. I just wanted to voice my support for the rezone and the purchase of land because I just think it's the best option for the neighborhood in general. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this? I don't see any hands raised. One last call from the public. We do have 2 call-ins, so if you wanted to speak, you could call Sue or text Sue at 339-987-2726. Sue, has anybody sent a message in to you?
I have no one that sent a message. There is one more hand raised.
Yep, Mr. Proulx. Go ahead. Bill, you're allowed to speak. You just have to unmute.
Sorry, Shannon, I should know that by now. I do that 100 times a day. So most of the time I like it when nobody can hear me. So question for when Councilor Sasha was over here, so I'll direct this at him. He called this a unique situation, right? So we as the Proulx obviously believe it's a very unique situation. We asked the mayor early on back in March, as Attorney Gaines had said, to give us an example of something of 300 feet of property that was rezoned from residential to business with a homeowner. And we didn't see any good examples. We got a couple, but we subsequently looked into those. They weren't quite the same, to say the least. I won't get into detail. So the town will buy for $1.4 million. They will buy 1.8 acres of land. Is that correct?
Melissa, is it 1.4, the figure?
If I may, through the president, the purchase is 1.41 million, and it is for 1.88 acres of land.
Okay, so thank you, Melissa. So 1.8 acres of land, which, and I will ask another question to whoever can answer it. What does that add? That adds land mass of affordable housing to the process, right? If you keep to the town's goal of 1.5, which currently I believe the town is at 1.39. Is that correct? Per the state?
If I may, through the council president.
Melissa, go ahead.
Purchasing or what we're purchasing, and are we on the rezone article, or are we taking them both up at the same time?
We're in a public hearing on the rezone right now.
Okay, so these are the CPC purchase questions. Would you like me to answer these now, Ms. President?
No,
Okay.
That's a whole nother public hearing. So Bill, if you want to wait on those, please.
Okay, so, yeah, I'll move on. So my point being, and it would be to Councilor Sasha, you do have the Holland project going on, which is a 40B project, which was sent back to court currently, I believe, and or at least the developers are appealing that. Certainly this land purchase will help that. Is that correct, Councilor?
That is a very complicated question. Not really. No.
So it won't help.
The impact of open space on that calculation is very, very minimal.
Right. But is it a minimal help or a no help?
It would be a minimal help. Right now, I'm seeing some shaking heads. So,
Chief of Staff Taub, do you want to speak on this?
I just think we have to be mindful that in discussing the 1.5 as it relates to the Holland project, we're talking about properties as they were at the time that application was filed, not as they exist now or will exist after the purchase of this property.
But the entirety of the purchase does not hurt as the town moves forward to thwart affordable housing.
I would take issue with the representation that any actions the town is taking as a part of this rezone or the land purchase as being an effort to thwart affordable housing. So if you have a way that you can rephrase that question, I'm happy to answer it, but as it was formed, I'm not going to acknowledge it.
That's yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Proulx?
No, thank you. But, you know, I would reiterate Attorney Gaines is, you know, we've done a lot of work. We've had the counselors over. And again, I thank you all for that. And, you know, just a good time for us to chat. And obviously, as I said before at the last meeting, we've been to a lot of these, get to know one another. So, and I know some of you already. So it was, you know, and I thank you for your tireless efforts and on behalf of the town, because it's, you're not in an easy position all the time. So, and Gail and I know that well for other issues we get involved in life as well. So, so again, thank you. But I'll just finish within those many meetings, many Zoom meetings, many personal meetings. Unfortunately, the tough part for Gail and I and our family is that throughout these meetings with the counselors, with the you know, through the different subcommittees, ways and means, and, you know, ordinance and rules, no one has mentioned 371. So that is extremely distressing to us, extremely. And I guess that's all I have to say. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on the rezone for general business district Liberty and Grove Street? Okay, seeing none, I am going to go back to our panelists and I will open it up to the mayor's office if you or anybody from your office would like to speak on this. No, seeing none. Okay, counselors, anybody from the council wish to speak on this? Councilor Mackin, did you want to speak on this? Go ahead.
Thank you. I couldn't find the raised hand there. So I am in support of this proposal. This property lies in my district. You know, for many of us, this was a big issue during the election as the 40B proposal came out shortly before the election took place. I really think Mayor Kokoris and the staff have done a lot of work here. It's a very creative proposal. I know when, you know, the 40B application was first approved by the state, there was a very large outpouring of opposition from the residents in that neighborhood. Well over 100 letters were written in a very short amount of time to the state board in opposition of it. So I do think this is an excellent fit for the neighborhood. I mean, on that location, it makes sense. A business would be there. It's a business on two other sides of the street. It's been run down and abandoned for a long time, and something is going to go there. As far as I've met with the Proulx a lot, and I understand all their concerns and their valid concerns. And I hope as we go on, we can do some things to make things easier for them. I myself had mentioned to Mr. Clemens the possibility of selling a bit more land as a buffer there. And I don't know what happened between Attorney Gaines and Attorney Montestino, so I can't speak to that. Mr. Clemens indicated to me that he had already sold enough land and it just wasn't possible to sell anymore. But anyway, the overall purpose here, I echo the mayor and ask for your support of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilor Ringus, thank you, Councilor Mackey. Councilor Ringus is the chair of Ordinance and Rules, so normally we would open up with the recommendations from Nat. I know Councilor Sasha, you are the vice chair. Are you prepared to do the recommendations from Ordinance and Rules?
Yes, Madam President.
Okay, so if we could do that, and I apologize for not doing that earlier. So Ordinance and Rules met on, no, go ahead. Council.
So I don't remember the date. Ordinance and Rules did meet, and Mr. Clements was there, Solicitor Taub was there, and Director of Planning, and some other people from town departments. The Ordinance and Rules Committee delivered a unanimously favorable recommendation for this. There was a good bit of discussion in getting there, and the discussion centered around these same issues that we've heard here tonight. And I think we have received assurances from the mayor's office and from Mr. Clements that as the site review process goes on, once something is cited for that land, that the abutters would be, meetings would be had with the abutters, and they would be taken care of as best that the town and the developer could manage to do. So I think that was part of why we ended up with a unanimous decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sasha. Now, you also had your hand raised. Do you want to continue to speak, or did you say everything that you wanted to say?
Sure. I'll just add, I continue to support this. I voted in favor of it at O&R, and I continue to support it. So one of the things that came up was that this lot is a very unique lot that is partially zoned for residential, partially zoned for general business. The general business portion is greatly undersized compared to what a typical store footprint is today. So I think there was discussion and some general agreement that we would have to be looking at rezoning this lot no matter what, if we want anything to be put on that property. It's not suitable as it is. So I continue to support this, and I hope that others do as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sasha. And next, Councilor Flaherty.
Thank you. There are a lot of moving pieces to this plan, and I think it's only fair to share the analysis that I have about those pieces. So what we're faced with right now is either we rezone for a CVS, a potential CVS, or we face the prospect of a 96-unit 40B residential complex. Those are our choices. So to decide how to vote on this, every counselor has to weigh the benefits and drawbacks of either project. So one way to look at that is by considering the extent to which either project will impact traffic. Now, I thought intuitively that a CVS would create far less traffic than a residential complex on that scale would create. But I learned from the planning department that actually a CVS will create as much or maybe even more traffic, depending on the time of day. There's not time to complete a full-fledged traffic study to get a precise answer. I have to vote based on these rough estimates. So conservatively, I'm going to call traffic a wash. Another way to compare the two projects is by how much tax income the town will get from either one. Now, the short answer to that is that is also a wash. But it's worth factoring in this. The residential complex will generate more tax revenue because it's bigger. But because it's not age-restricted housing, it will invariably be occupied by a certain number of families. And some of those families will have kids. So reasonable projections for the number of children can be made by looking at the number of units with 2 bedrooms and so on. So when you look at the cost of educating the total number of additions to our school system and subtract from that the total amount of generated income, that's when the financials start to look like a wash. But it's not really a wash, though, because our school system is already struggling with space issues. If the debt exclusion is passed, then we can begin to deal with some of those space issues. But we have to take this vote before we know that outcome. So the only resources we can count on are the ones we already have. So that's 1 point for the CVS. The next thing to consider is that there's a historic home in the mix. That house dates all the way back to the 1690s. I taught history for 10 years. That house is special. I think it deserves to be preserved. If the residential units are built, that house will be bulldozed. If we go with the CVS, the house will remain intact. Braintree will have to decide what to do with it, but it won't be torn down. So score another point for CVS. Another thing to think about is that there are wetlands in the picture, which are important to our local ecology. If we build the CVS, the development will encroach on the wetlands less than it will with the residential complex. I don't feel good about voting to undermine one of the last living shreds of our ecological system. So that's another point for CVS. But we can't ignore the value that either project brings by the purpose it serves our town. Does Braintree need another CVS? No. Do we need housing? Yes. We most definitely need additional housing choice in Braintree and a better stock of affordable housing in particular. To me, voting against housing is counterintuitive, and Braintree has been ignoring the need for affordable housing for a long time. That pattern has incrementally created this problem in the first place. So do we need housing? Yes. But the real question is, do we need this housing, which comes at the expense of our ecology, our history, our schools, and the wishes of most of the abutting neighbors? That's a harder question, and I'll be interested in hearing what residents have to say. Well, I guess we're done, but at any rate, there's one more really important question to consider. There was no consensus on the best use for that property until the developer wielded the cudgel of 40B, and all of a sudden a CVS looked like a glorious solution. But if we rezone that property so he can build what he wants on there, what we communicate to every developer within earshot, and there are many, is that they can buy a piece of property that is not zoned for what they wish to use it for, and then lean on the mayor and the council to rezone it at their pleasure. All they have to do is whisper the suggestion of a 40B, and we're at their mercy. That puts developers in the driver's seat for Braintree's future, and that is a terrible predicament for us to be in. Now, this administration has not had time to solve the need for affordable housing in Braintree. It took a lot of years of ignoring this need for us to get into this position, and it will take some time, some commitment, and some strategy for us to get out. My concern is this. At the last Ways and Means meeting, the mayor's chief of staff explained that a decision has been made to postpone the beginning of the master plan process indefinitely, because the ideal way to proceed with that involves gathering residents together in one place to hold in-person conversations about the direction we'd like to take in the future. And we're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't dispute that the pandemic makes the process less than ideal. I miss in-person conversations, but in New England, if we waited for ideal weather, we'd never step outside. In a pandemic, we cannot set aside the essential needs of our town just because conditions are not ideal. Our kids, for example, are not going to have an ideal school year, but we're not going to set aside education. Zoom feels awkward at first, but we didn't decide to set aside all of our council business just because of that. We're not going to set aside the election or Christmas or anything else that's important to us just because conditions aren't ideal. During the campaign season, the resounding cry was that Braintree needs an updated master plan. It might have been the only thing that every candidate running agreed on. It's the one thing that this mayor has an unqualified mandate to do. Solving our housing problems so that we are no longer vulnerable to the cudgel of 40B means significant updating of our zoning laws and other companion pieces of legislation that will help Braintree increase its affordable housing stock so that we can meet the standards set by the state and finally have safe harbor. But nobody wants to do that before we have the long overdue community conversation about what our priorities are and what our shared vision for the future might be. Crafting that vision through piecemeal zoning is sloppy and destined to be ineffective. Delaying the master plan process isn't a strategy, it's just inaction. And we don't have time to wait because I can guarantee you that developers, like the one who owns this piece of property, aren't wasting their time waiting for conditions to be perfect before they buy land for development. The situation we're in right now only drives home how important it is for us to have a zoning map that means what it says. I can understand supporting this rezoning to solve this problem in this moment of time. But this is not a strategy to use going forward. So I hope the mayor's office will reconsider the decision to stall the master plan process, because it is essential for us to figure out how we're going to deal with all of this in the future instead of letting developers do it for us. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Flaherty. I am going to go next to Councilor Verica.
Thank you, President Hume. If I may have two turns, so to speak. I did receive a letter from one of my constituents that I would like to read into the record. He could not join us tonight. This is from Dan Eisenberg, 334 Lyle Street. Dear members of Town Council, after reading about the mayor's proposed rezoning of the Liberty and Grove property, I wish to express my vehement opposition. At a time when we are seeing unprecedented protests about the racial inequities of our society, a 40B development will be a tangible step towards making Braintree open to a greater diversity of people and making them feel welcome in our community. To rezone in the hope of a new CVS, of which there are several already within town, feels unnecessary and to some extent hostile towards the prospect of allowing new people into town. We need to stick up for those who want to be able to live in our town and have the same great schooling we do, but cannot afford to live here. It would be unfortunate for us to shut out yet more people who just want to have the things close to what we have. As I will not be able to make it to the open comment meeting about the rezoning, I wish for this comment to be entered into the record. Thank you for reading. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you, Councilor Verica. Do you have any other comments or
Yes.
questions?
Thank you,
Go ahead.
President Hume. I do appreciate deeply Mr. Eisenberg's sentiments. And while I feel very strongly that Braintree is in need of housing that provides flexibility and affordability, after much consideration and speaking with many of the District 5 residents who, though not legal abutters, truly live in the immediate neighborhood, who voiced their strong opinion to me that they preferred a CVS or a business development to the 4-story apartment building they felt would be too tall and too imposing for that corner. I also believe that this proposed apartment complex, though again, we are in need of housing flexibility and affordability, was never part of a strategic plan to provide housing choice, but rather, as stated by some of the previous speakers, a last gasp for developing this dilapidated property after many previous proposals were rejected by the town. And I would offer for the residents in attendance to go through the notes. You can see the many, many options that were offered up before we got to this stage that were previously rejected. Additionally, this site was never supported by our planning department as one that was compatible for housing development, nor was it favorably recommended by our by the planning board. I would like to note that the primary concern I heard from residents was about traffic generation. And while the CVS is expected to generate at least as much traffic as the apartment complex, I will be working hard to make sure that effective traffic mitigation plans are put in place as this project moves forward, if it is approved tonight. And lastly, I do want to make sure that it's so important for me to listen to my constituents and the residents, and also to have that sentiment echoed in large part by the subject matter experts, the planning department, who had recommended as part of the town's comprehensive rezone proposal that this site be rezoned to general business, which would bring it in line with the three other corners in the Liberty and Grove district, to provide services for the residents in the surrounding neighborhoods. So I will be voting in favor of this evening. However, it does come with some measure of trepidation, and I certainly hope we can work together to figure out how we can bring more affordable, flexible housing choice to Braintree. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Baraka. Then next is going to be Councilor O'Brien, then Councilor Sasha. I see there's residents with their hand raised. I'm going to get to the councilor, and then we're going to go back to the public. We do see there's a chat. We are in the meeting. The comments in the chat will be addressed, so we will get to that. Go ahead, Councilor O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I have a question related to a previous speaker who was asking multiple questions that went into the second part of the second component. Am I correct in assuming, and I'd like the mayor's office to respond to this, that this is solely for the rezone, but it is a domino that will then go into the next component, which is the method of purchasing the other facilities or the other properties from the CPA funds?
Madam President.
Go ahead, Mayor Kokoris.
Thank you. That is correct. This is in conjunction with the next order, and that's why in the beginning I did speak on both, because both have to happen in order for it to happen. So that's why this is first and purchase is second.
Okay, then thank you very, very much, Mr. Mayor. I would ask Mr. Proulx to hold his commentary and come back in the second part of this, because I think he's important, because he's a resident that is definitely being affected by this. So my other question is, my other comment, there's two comments that I have, and then not sure if I even have the other question, but this is not, although this is related to a particular parcel in town, or many parcels actually, this is not about the future. This is a one-time shot. There have been many other properties in this town that I've sat on and disappointingly had to approve because it was the right thing or it was beneficial to the town. And in hindsight is 20/20. But this is solely for this one property. And I might also want to point out for those speakers that want to chime in that it has nothing to do with CVS. This is 100% about the developer and the ownership therein. I'm not sure it's Liberty Grove LLC or who the actual owner is, but it's important to note that this could be a CVS, could be a Macy's, it could be what people were afraid of from the beginning, which is a Cumberland Farms. Now I've had people actually comment to me, we should have had the Cumby, but it's too late now because we've moved forward on that, or we've moved on from that. But that's basically, that's what I had for this one. I will be back in the second one because I believe the 21E study would be related to the second component of this, not the rezone. So I'll stand down. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor O'Brien. So I have Councilor Sasha and Matkin for the second time. Do you want to go now or let the public speak before you do your comments? Councilor Sasha, you were up first.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll go ahead and speak because Councilor O'Brien just made the point that I wanted to make as a clarification for residents that are listening, that the council cannot rezone for a specific type of business like a CVS. The council would be rezoning this as general business, and as Councilor O'Brien pointed out, that would allow any use that is available in that district. The only reason that I think so many people are focused on the CVS is because not only has the developer committed to a CVS there for right now, but the mayor has actually spoken with CVS. And so I think there is, at least for the moment, there's some consensus that that is what would go there. But, you know, to Councilor O'Brien's point, it's just going to be general business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sasha. I also want to mention we have on the phone with us listening is the town attorney, John Goldrosen. Plus, we have Attorney Modestino, who is the attorney for the developer and the developer. Counselor Mackin, go ahead.
Madam President, I'm okay waiting until the public speaks, and then I'll like to take my turn back.
Okay. Liz Page, thank you, Counselor Mackin. I see you have your hand up. Go ahead, state your name and address for the record.
Hello, Liz Page, 137 Stores Ave, and thank you, Madam President, for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And I do think that all of the efforts that have come forth working on this project have showed a great deal of creativity and a lot of caring for the sentiment that the Braintree residents don't want to see their town overdeveloped. And I think that that was a message that went out loud and clear last year. And I think it's very important that the council stays true to that and that we don't push this through under some other idea that's not really the case that we're looking at. But I think what we're looking at tonight is a good fit, and I think that everybody has done a nice job working on this. I didn't realize that we were going to be discussing the master plan tonight, and I felt like
we are actually, Ms. Page, we are not. I don't mean to cut you off. We're not discussing the master plan. We are
okay.
in
I
public
just
hearing.
didn't understand why Councilor Flaherty went on for quite some time talking about the master plan, and I was a bit surprised about that. But anyway, I do think that this project is very good, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Okay, Counselor Mackin, back to you.
Were there no other members of the public who wish to speak?
Nope, not at this time.
All right, I would just like to, address the letter read by Councilor Berica. I do appreciate her echoing the concerns of her constituents. I think that's important. But I disagree with the sentiment of that letter that this is a racial issue. I don't think race has anything to do with it. And I think to suggest that the residents who live in that neighborhood are discriminatory for their opposition to this project is offensive to the people who live there. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Mackin. And just for the record, that was not Councilor Berica's email. It was an email from a constituent who sent it to her who could not be in attendance tonight. Anybody else from the council? I see somebody from the public. Dan Clifford, go ahead, state your name and address for the record. You need to unmute yourself, though.
Yeah, I have it. Thank you, Ms. President. This property has been discussed for years. I was still a counselor at the time when it started, the discussions. The value of that property to the surrounding neighborhoods. When first there was the announcement of 96 units going to go there, it was clear that the residents were shocked. How could 96 units go in there, and what would it do to the community? So would it fit nicely into the community? And the answer was no. That there's lots of issues between traffic and school and water, all the infrastructure issues that the town has. It was pretty much settled, at least that a CVS would be something that would be aesthetically more pleasing than 96 units. So given the amount of years that this has gone on, I hope that the councilors will respect the residents of the area and all the hard work that's gone on in trying to come to a mitigation that would allow the community, the local residents, not to feel as though their property was going to be devalued in any way, or that the schools would be overburdened, or that the water and our infrastructure issues would be further burdened too. There are lots of other places, including 90 Pond Street, that could be looked at, has been talked about many times in the past.
Mr. Clifford, can I just ask you to keep to the topic on hand for the public hearing, please?
Yeah. The topic is that 96 units would have been out of place and disproportional to the community, the residents at hand. A CVS is much more appealing, and that's what the residents want. That's all.
Thank you. Councilor O'Brien, did you have your hand raised?
I do, if I could, but I also see some member of
Yep.
the public. Why don't we let Vanya go first and then I'll go.
Okay. And then Attorney Modestino is there. Vanya Mauricio, I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong. State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm Vanya Mauricio. I live at Skyline Apartments. I have a question actually. What zone is these apartments?
Do you mean like what is it zoned for now?
Yeah, what would it be, zone A, B, or C?
It's Res A and B.
Okay, because I'm just learning about the zoning. So I've learned that Skyline is in zone C, correct, as well as Braintree Village. So as Mackin, you said that this isn't about race. From what I'm seeing, Braintree is very, very much segregated. So I think that by refusing to have affordable housing in residents in zone A and B, I think it is discriminatory. You're not allowing the residents, because of their income, to live in certain sections of Braintree because they're not able to afford it. So if Braintree is wanting to be inclusive for all, I think that people should be given the opportunity to live in different zones, not only zone C, where the lower income people are allowed to live in Braintree. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mauricio. And Melissa Santucci, do you want to address that?
I just wanted to point out, Council President, that we actually do have quite a bit of housing in the Residence A district that is multifamily and also affordable. One example is the Ridge Arena. That property is zoned Residence A and commercial and is on Upper West Street. So we do have a variety of different zones that are occupied by multifamily housing and also affordable housing.
Thank you, Ms. Santucci. Councilor O'Brien, you want to go to you, or Attorney, will you wait to?
I'll just have a quick comment because.
Go ahead, Councilor O'Brien.
Yeah, it's just really a point of recognition. I just want to state clearly that the incoming information or the incoming email votes that I've watched, because I'm not receiving them all. I certainly didn't get 100 letters. I didn't review 100 letters. But the incoming information that I've seen is that people aren't 100% against the 40B. In fact, I am shocked. Unlike the Braintree Square 40B that is going forward, or potentially going forward, still in litigation, I'm shocked at how many people came out for this. And I just want the residents to know that there is a mixed bag. It is not 100% against. And there are folks that have come out for this. And you've heard a couple of residents on this call, but there have been others that are unable to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Brien. Attorney Modestino, state your name for the record and who you represent, please.
Yes, Madam President, Michael Modestino, and I represent Liberty Grove LLC and Judge Clements, who's the manager of Liberty Grove. I listened to all the comments tonight, and I don't want to take up a lot of time here, but the one thing that I can say is that this rezone request, it benefits the entire town, I believe. It benefits the neighborhood as well. The mayor said it's a win-win. I believe that as well. And I think it's for the common good of the town of Braintree. And having said that, it's for the common good. Obviously, there's some other things that could be done with this property, but I think that this is a compromise that we have to consider, and I think it's in the best interest of the town to create open space, to preserve historical buildings, and to put a fairly attractive looking CVS or whatever store it might be. Now, I heard what Attorney Gaines had to say. He's a good attorney. I've been dealing with him now for the past several weeks, and he's from a good law firm. But I disagree with him on the spot zoning. This is not spot zoning at all. Okay, this property has always been a business property. It was a gas station since the 50s. And as we've discussed, it's probably better in the master plan going forward to rezone, you know, this entire frontage area as business property. And also Attorney Gaines had said that it's in the economic interest of one person, the developer. I take issue with that. The economic interest of the developer would be to have the 40B project. He would certainly make more money off of the 40B project. But, you know, it's a compromise. It'd probably be too dense for this area. There's a whole bunch of reasons why it's probably better not situated there. So I would ask the council, I think the rezone is reasonable. I would ask the council to consider it and to vote for it. I thank the two committees that voted to support it that we appeared before. I thank the planning board, and I certainly thank Melissa Santucci for her efforts, considerable efforts in putting all of this together. And I thank Councilor Mackin for being fairly outspoken about his support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Modestino. Councilor Ryan, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I am going to be supporting this motion. Last year, when we had a lot of discussion and talk about development in the town of Braintree, I heard loud and clear from the residents of Braintree, they do not want high-density development in neighborhoods. We need to make sure that we have it in the appropriate locations in Braintree. And this is definitely not one of them. So I'm going to be supporting this motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Anybody else from the council wish to speak on this matter? Anybody from the public? Your last call on this for the public hearing. This is the rezone. Attorney Gaines, you have the floor again. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to repeat one of the questions that I asked I don't think was answered, and that was whether or not there's been any meaningful conversation between the town and the applicant about purchasing a sliver of 365 to create the buffer. I know the mayor calls this a win-win. Well, he can make it a win-win-win if he, you know, if the town can purchase that sliver, because then obviously the Proulx would be happy in that regard. So I'm just looking for an answer to that question.
Yep, so we're going to have a final wrap up going to the mayor's office and the planning department. So thank you.
The answer, Madam President.
Go ahead, Mayor Koukouras.
The answer is no. At no time was that property offered to us for sale, and that is not the intent. This is the rezone that we are presenting, and the answer is no.
Okay, Mayor Koukouras. Melissa Santucci, you want to give us a final summary wrap up, if you will, addressing points brought up this evening?
Yes, I would very much like to do that, Madam President. So it's interesting just listening to the different comments. Obviously, people are have done their homework. They've spent some time with this, and we've spent quite a bit of time too, and appreciate all the comments for, against, and questions. I think it's interesting, and I think it's also important to point out, as some of the speakers said, we have been looking at this for a long time. I personally have been looking at this piece of property since 2014. This rezone and pull in this idea isn't something that was done to silence people or create economic benefit for people or to advance others' interests over others. It was done to create something that is going to be appropriate in size, scale, and massing so that that corner can be developed similar to the other corners under our local zoning bylaw. Mr. Clemens had purchased some of that property a while back, and he continued to purchase additional parcels when he was hit with big resistance from the town for his other proposals. He started compiling those parcels so that he could move forward with this 40B development. And honestly, for him now to pull those plans, which are very lucrative plans, and he will make a lot of money if he pursues that development. And for him to stop now after 3 or 4 years of no from the community and to engage us in this idea of let's rezone the front and let's see if we can purchase the back. And the answers to the questions about the 1.5, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail, is owning land and creating housing, which are two of the things that we hopefully can do with the CPC purchase, will help us. Are they going to help us huge? No, but every little step is going to help. And if Braintree is not going to be a community that wants to put 300 units on a corner at 25% affordability, then we need to be creative and do it our own way. And it might be small and it might be incremental, but it all helps. We talk about this buffer, that there's been this talk about buying these slivers. No slivers need to be purchased by anybody to create buffers. Buffering and planting is part of the site plan review process. We do it all the time. The planning board does it at every hearing. We talk about landscaping. What are you going to put there? What do the neighbors want? What do they need for a fence? What kind of plants? What kind of walls? What kind of berms? Whatever is going to be required when we get to that point, when we have renderings, when we have perspectives, when we know where the impacts are going to be. Everything now is based off speculation. We have this concept plan, and I've said it probably 6 times now. We've been at 6 different meetings working through this process, all positive along the way, is that the concept plans are space planning to make sure that we rezone enough land, and frankly, that we don't look like fools coming back saying, sorry, we need more land. So we've done our homework. We've put our time into this. And this is something so that Braintree can be in control on this corner and be responsible. We all know that corner is going to be developed. And frankly, I am probably one of the biggest affordable housing supporters in the community. And the project that we were presented with is not something that's going to work there. Yes, we need housing. Yes, we need diversity. Yes, we need different income levels to be able to purchase and move into the community, but not at this corner with what was proposed. I'm hopeful we can find other opportunities in the community. And I would just wanted to kind of let the public know, and other people, seems like everyone's commenting on what our plan was and what we're doing. And that's basically what the plan was. And if there's any other questions from anybody, I'd be happy to answer those as well. Madam President, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Santucci. I don't see any other, so I'll just offer my final comments. This has been going on for years with this particular site where different projects have been brought before us. I do think this is the best one, and I do think the developer has been working with the residents. The Proulx are the neighbors who are most affected by this. I had asked the developer to come out and meet with the Proulx and a few of the counselors. So he's shown his willingness to work, brought his site developer and landscape architect. So they, I know you were talking with them and working with them through you, Attorney Modestino, to your client. I know he is on the listening with us tonight too. I hope those talks can continue and work with the Proulx to address their needs the best that can be, because they raise their families there. They are the most impacted. They are the closest to the property. I will be supporting this, and I know the relationship between the developer and the residents will work. I just want to thank the mayor's office and Melissa Santucci, Christine Stickney, and the planning department for all the work. I know there was several questions coming back and forth. Especially, I want to thank Ordinance and Rules for your due diligence and the number of questions and the quite extensive information that was provided to them, and the public as well. There has been a lot of public input on this throughout the years, and that is greatly appreciated. This is truly a collaborative effort. It is one for all of Braintree that this project is going to impact and help. So with that, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Councilor Ryan, seconded by Councilor Connors. Clerk Semino, a roll call vote, please.
Council Berica,
Yes.
Council Connors,
Aye.
Council Flaherty,
Yes.
Council Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin,
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien,
Aye.
Counselor Ringus, not present. Counselor Ryan,
Yes.
Counselor Sasha.
Yes.
That's 8 in favor.
Okay, we are out of the public hearing. Now we will be moving on to the motion. This requires a 2/3 vote of the council, so we need 6 votes in favor for this to pass. Counselor Ryan.
Madam President, the motion is that the town vote at the request of the mayor of the town of Braintree and Liberty Grove LLC with consent by Eugene K. and Linda A. McIsaac to amend the zoning map of the town of Braintree by rezoning from the Residence A and Residence B district to the general business district, certain portions of the following lots, assessors parcels 1109 lot 6 identified as 357 Grove Street, assessors parcel 1109 lot 6A identified as 1006 Liberty Street, and assessors parcels 1109 lot 6B identified as 365 Grove Street. Portion of said lots that are to rezone as shown on a plan entitled rezoning plan at 357 and 365 Grove Street, 1006 Liberty Street in Braintree, Mass. Prepared by Hardy and Mann Design Group PC dated June 22nd, 2020, which is on file with the town clerk. The acreage to be rezoned is approximately 1.23 acres, including approximately 0.72 acres of assessors parcels 1109 lot 6, 0.02 acres of assessors parcels 1109 lot 6A, and 0.49 acres of assessors parcel 1109 lot B, 6B. So moved.
And a motion made by Counselor Ryan, seconded by Counselor Connors. Clerk Semino, a roll call vote, please.
Counselor Baraka,
Yes.
Counselor Connors,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Yes.
Counselor Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin,
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien,
Aye.
Counselor Ringus is not present. Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Counselor Sasha.
Yes.
That's 8 in favor.
That is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 200045, the mayor request for appropriation CPA funds for the land purchase at Liberty and Grove or take up any action relative thereto. This is also a public hearing. Prior to opening the public hearing, Mayor Kokoros, would you like to speak on this matter?
Sorry, I had to unmute there. Thank you. First, I thank you for the vote on the rezone, and this goes hand in hand with the rezone, and this is an opportunity for us to purchase open space land and preserve one of the oldest homes in Braintree. And I would appreciate your support on this as well. And I thank you for all of the deliberation tonight and comments. I think you've done a great job at vetting through the rezone, and I look forward to hearing the comments on the purchase. But this is a great opportunity for the town of Braintree to preserve land, exactly what the Community Preservation Fund is for, and also historic preservation is a wonderful thing because we get to control the destiny of this house, which would have been torn down. And I appreciate your support and ask for your yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Semino, do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Counselor Ryan, seconded by Counselor Connors. Clerk Semino, a roll call vote, please.
Did we already open this? I apologize.
No.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I apologize. So Counselor Baraka,
Yes.
Counselor Connors,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Yes.
Counselor Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin,
Yes.
Counselor O'Brien,
So no need to apologize. Aye.
Counselor Ringus is not present. Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
and Counselor Sasha.
Yes.
8 in favor.
Thank you. And with that, I will refer to Chairwoman Baraka of the Ways and Means for your recommendation to the full council.
Thank you, Madam President. The Ways and Means Committee met last week on this matter and sends this to the full council with a unanimous favorable recommendation, as mentioned by the mayor. For the public's benefit, I do want to clarify that the funding for this purchase will be coming out of the town's Community Preservation Act Fund. So this fund is a result of Massachusetts Community Preservation Act, which permits cities and towns that accept its provisions to add a surcharge on property taxes. Braintree's surcharge is 1%, which is the minimum commitment, and then this amount is matched by the Commonwealth. So the money in this trust has accrued over the years, ensuring that we have more than enough to pay for this purchase. The Community Preservation Committee also provided a unanimous favorable recommendation for the purchase of this property with the intention of preserving the 1693 house, along with protecting undeveloped open space, including better protection for the wetlands. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Baraka. Any member from the council wish to speak on this? Councilor O'Brien, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President, and perhaps for the chair, I guess I'm a little confused because the paperwork that I have shows a $1.3 million offer. The documentation I have shows a 1.4 plus purchase price, and the Assistant Director of Planning also mentioned the 1.4. So I'd just like clarification on the differences between the offer that I see in my documentation and what has been suggested.
Ms. Santucci, go ahead. Thank you.
We'll start with that, Madam President, please.
Say that last point.
I said we'll start with that because I have other things, please.
Ms. Santucci, I believe you're going to address that.
If I may, yes, Madam President. So basically, the total purchase price, which includes the land and the dwelling and also some soft costs that I can review in detail, is 1.4 million. And the offer that had come from Mr. Clemens, we actually, because the house contains a substantial amount of lead, we got some quotes for lead removal, and we deducted that from the value of the house. And then we added also into the purchase the cost for the legal work for the title and the deed, survey and bounds. Additional, when we purchase property with community preservation funds, we have to do our own 21E report. There is a report that has already been done on the property that we've looked at. There isn't anything that is concerning there. There was monitoring wells placed there a long time ago, but that is a requirement of purchasing the land with the CPA funds. Then we have $25,000 for open space monitoring. That is for, we'll be the owner of the land. Somebody's going to hold that open space restriction, similar to our other purchases. We have $8,000 for the writing and the drafting and the recording of all of those restrictions, and then another $1,500 for miscellaneous. So the actual land is a little bit less than the 141 because of the additional costs that I just outlined.
So if I could just recap what I think I heard.
Go ahead, Councilor O'Brien.
Was that Liberty Grove LLC will receive 1.3, and the rest of the appropriation that comes from CPA will cover all those other costs? No, I'm getting no.
No, the other costs only total 55. So 55 off of, they will get 1,360.
Okay, so
yes.
May I continue, Madam President, or would you
go
like
ahead.
to move
no,
on?
Go ahead.
I have a series. So the next question I have, I do not see anywhere in my documentation that house, although I do have a document, but I don't see that it's gone by the Historic Commission. How do we know whether it is historic, aside from the fact that there's a book? Has the Historic Commission made that determination?
They have not made that determination. We're actually using, so there's different ways that you can purchase things with community preservation funds, and the act requires certain percentages for housing, open space, recreation, and historic preservation. We are using the unreserved fund and the unrestricted money that is not for one of those uses by statute, and it does not require that historical sort of step in the process. Does it have any kind of designation? No. There is things in the act that talk about structures. I mean, this is really old. This isn't like questionably old. That age is sometimes considered enough. However, we are not using historical funds to purchase this. That is an outcome of the purchase, but because we're using the unrestricted funds, we don't need to do that at this time.
So is there any anticipation from the town's perspective that we'll have it looked at by the Historical Commission?
From what perspective?
I'm not tied up on it. I'm just wondering because, you know, the thing has been thrown around historic, and then I hear, recently I heard it's not historic.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, what does historic even mean? Is it old? Is it, you know, so it means different things to different people. And as I had just stated, it's not on a register. It's not on a list of historic places. But if the town, you know, where this particular effort right now is to secure the land and the house, I see this as a wonderful opportunity for the district, the public, the counselors to sort of engage people and get ideas from the public on how they want the structure to be used. But I think rehabilitating the structure and putting a restriction on it to make sure that the outside is preserved with the features that it has, the historic roof line, the salt box structure, those types of things are important to carry forward. As far as going to the Historical Commission, and I would welcome additional question about that. I mean, I don't mean to be sarcastic, but for what?
Well, I don't want it to be historic. I want to be able to use it and tear it down and put up a multi-unit that we can put people in, but we're probably not going to do that. On a separate subject, on the 21E, you mentioned that there was a 21E. Was there a 21E done on that particular property? Because I would be concerned that there may be some leaching from the old gas station. And if there is leaching from the old gas station, I would want the previous owner to be an RPR, which is a previous owner, to be able to clean that up, because I wouldn't want that to be on the burden of the town.
So the 21E is not on 1006 Liberty Street. It was for the Sunoco location, but when you do a 21E and you do investigative environmental work to determine contamination, and this is just all over, not just for this property, you keep going and you keep testing and keep going until you...
You're not like your whole head purple.
Don't find anything anymore. And what we did have access to and did review did not even indicate there was presence of things beyond the monitoring area, which I don't have the report with me. I apologize. I'm not in Braintree or anywhere near Braintree right now. But if you would like to review that, I can make that available for you. Mr. Clements is also here, as well as Mike Modestino. I didn't prepare lengthy testimony in regards to this. I don't know if they have anything else that they can add. But what I can tell you is what we've seen is not concerning. And because we're not even buying the area where the gas station was, or the pumps, or the tanks, you know, there's a decent amount of buffer even around that area before we're getting into what we're purchasing. But that is a valid question because contamination can migrate.
Okay, and lastly, there's been talk about, and I promise, Madam President, the last one, there's been talk about affordable housing. And while that is one single unit, perhaps could go on the affordable housing rolls, it sounds to me like that would be the only unit, because from what I just heard, we're going to go out and get an open space preserver, which means that the other two properties are going to remain open space. True or not true?
Our intentions related to affordable housing in this purchase is related to that structure. We have not talked about building additional units there. It is not zoned for additional units. If that's something that comes out of some sort of public outreach and charrette and planning effort through, like I had mentioned before, maybe that's something that we can look at, but I don't see something, you know, a large building or anything like that. It would be something that was very, you know, low key and sort of a, gateway as we work our way into, Upper Liberty and in the Highlands neighborhood. But no, we have not talked anything beyond rehabilitating that house. And it would be similar to 165 Pond Street. It was a single family home that was purchased with CPA funds, rehabilitated and sold to a Braintree family at 80% of median. So that's what we were thinking for this, if that's something that is open to the residents in the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor O'Brien. Councilor Mackin, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to echo the mayor and voice my support for this measure. And as we all know, this measure is tied to the previous one. One deal doesn't go through without the other. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Connors, you did have your hand raised. Are you all set?
Yes, I had my answer questioned.
Okay.
Flip that. Question answered.
Thank you. Any other councilor wish to speak? Anybody from the public wish to speak? Use the raise your hand feature on. I do not see any on this. Okay, anybody from the mayor's office want to make any final comments? Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion to close the public hearing made by Councilor Ryan, seconded by Councilor Connors. Clerk Semino, a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Baraka.
I do think there's a hand raised. Sorry, President Hume, in the attendees.
Yep. Everybody okay if we go back to the public? Yes? Okay. Mr. Proulx, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, President Hume. Just had a question from I believe it was the Ways and Means Committee. Chief Taub, you had mentioned, I believe, I just want to clarify that would be no additional monies in the budget for the maintenance or upkeep of that property. It would be out of the current funds?
You're referring to the property that we're now in the public hearing.
The 1006, 1006 Liberty.
Yep.
With the home and, the property around it.
Okay.
And I would just cite the mayor's statement in his proposal that open space will be, I won't use the term undeveloped, so I'm not, there will not be any change to it either. So I think we've talked about over those meetings that there'd be public spaces, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is not in public. There's not some grandiose plan to make this a walking path or a dog park or a gazebo area, unless I'm missing something from what's been written or what's been stated. So is it true that this is just going to be a spot? And I know walking by 1006 Liberty often, as I look and I've contemplated what's been going on with the idea for making this an open space. To make it an open space, you have to have access to it. With the existing home there, it's pretty much right up against the street. And I can't imagine, like you guys talked about, maybe making that affordable housing or maybe a family or something like that going in, that you would even be able to put a path to get through there to get back to the open space. So I'm just suggesting that the public knows that that's the case. There's really no way to develop that for public use. It's really a public buffer in our mind. I just want to state that, and I've stated it before, not in front of the full council, but in front of the different subcommittees.
Chief of Staff Taub, you want to take that? And I do see Ms. Santucci has her hand raised to address this as well, Mr. Proulx.
Thank you, Madam President. I would note that I think when we talked about no additional monies in the current budget, it was about maintaining certain properties. But as the committee may recall, there was also conversation about community conversations regarding potential further uses, not just for the dwelling, but also for the land, and engaging with the public and having conversations about what the most effective and efficient use for this land might be. And depending on those decisions made based on those conversations, there may be a request for additional CPA funding in the event that those fall within any of those allowable uses for further development of the property as a whole that's being purchased by the town. And Madam President, with your permission, I would look to Director Stickney or Assistant Director Santucci if they have anything to add with regards to that inquiry from Mr. Proulx. Thank you.
Ms. Santucci, do you still want to speak? Go ahead.
I would like to, yes. I just want to address the point of what was said, what's going to happen with the land. I prepared the application for Ms. Kokoris to submit to the council. And again, I will reiterate, this is an unrestricted purchase. I'm very, very clear in the application. I list all the categories, which are open space, recreation, historic preservation, and affordable housing. The property has about 150 feet of frontage along Liberty Street, the part that we're looking to purchase. The frontage requirement, if we do decide to use that dwelling for a residential use, would require 50 feet of frontage. So there's another 150 feet of frontage along Liberty Street that would allow more than sufficient access to this property by the public. There is opportunity there to improve the quality of the open space with benches. I did mention a gazebo at one of the meetings. I also mentioned a pocket park. This is the gateway to the Liberty Street area and those homes. Those neighborhoods are light on parks. We looked at some maps and something with some benches and some shade for an area of somebody leaving the little neighborhood district there, doing their shopping, walking around, something for them to take a break is something that I think would be very appropriate there if that's what the neighborhood and the district is looking for. We're not talking about Highlands Playground, but there definitely is an opportunity to, again, improve that open space so that it is open to the public, and while the public is utilizing it and or walking by, that they can also enjoy it. Like I said, whether it's on a bench, whether it's under a gazebo, very low key sort of neighborhood scale improvements that would come under the eligible purchases. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Mr. Proulx, go ahead. I see you want to speak again.
Yeah, thank you, President. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a kind of a utopian picture of it, but again, that would fly against what the mayor's note was in his proposal, that there was no plan to develop that at this, he didn't even say at this point, I don't believe. So I don't have the note in front of me. So again, just stating that, and especially in the time we're in, gross domestic product in the second quarter went down 35%. I'm guessing tax revenue for the town is going to go decline significantly. I told my daughter, who teaches 6th grade English, about the purchase for 1.4 million. She laughed and said, "Where's the town getting that money?" I had to explain to her it was segregated funds from the CPC. She can't even have it. She doesn't even have tissue paper for her students. So with that in mind, again, we look at it as a total buffering move, and it's a great political move, as I said to the mayor and Ms. Santucci back a few months back. It works, makes perfect sense, total perfect sense. It doesn't make perfect sense to one of the abutters, but to at least 7 it does. And it absolutely fulfills your, and I think you guys stated it here tonight, that you were attempting to, or a lot of you folks were elected on keeping 40B away. So it makes that happen. It makes that pledge happen. So I'm just calling it what it is. And again, a very concerned abutter. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Proulx. Approve, rather. Anybody else from the public or council wish to speak?
Move to vote.
Okay, we are now motion to close the public hearing. We have that on the table. Sue, do we need to do that again?
No, we have a motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Connors.
Yep, roll call vote, please. Thank you.
Councilor Baraka.
Yes.
Councilor Connors.
Aye.
Councilor Flaherty.
Yes.
Councilor Hume.
Aye.
Councilor Mackin.
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien.
Aye.
Counselor Ringus is not present. Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Counselor Sasha,
Yes.
all in favor to close the public hearing.
Thank you. Counselor Ryan for the motion, please.
The motion for 20045, that in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 44B of the general laws and with the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, that the sum of $1,415,000 be appropriated from the CPA unreserved fund in order to acquire a parcel of land located off Liberty and Grove Streets containing approximately 1.8 acres and consisting of portions of assessors map parcels 110906, 110906A, and 110906B. Said parcel being identified as CPC area on plan entitled Liberty and Grove Development and Preservation Plan at 357 and 365 Grove Street, 1006 Liberty Street in Braintree, Mass. Prepared by Hardy and Mann Design Group, PC, dated June 22nd, 2020. The purpose of the acquisition include the acquisition, creation, and preservation of open space, the acquisition, preservation, rehabilitation, restoration of historic resources, the acquisition, creation, preservation, rehabilitation, restoration of land for recreational use, the acquisition, creation, preservation of support of community housing and/or the rehabilitation or restoration of open space and community housing so that is so acquired or created. The appropriation includes $1.36 million for the parcel purchase price and $55,000 for associated costs. Said sums to be expended under the direction of the mayor with the assistance of the Director of Planning and Community Development. Further, that the mayor be authorized to accept the deed for said parcel and take up any action necessary to accomplish the acquisition of said parcel, and that the mayor also be authorized to grant such permanent restrictions on said parcel or portion thereof as may be necessary to meet the requirements of Chapter 184 of the General Laws, Section 31 and 32, as required by Chapter 44B of the General Laws, Section 12. So moved.
Second.
Are you seconded for discussion, Counselor O'Brien?
Please,
Go ahead.
just want to make a commentary to a previous speaker. This money does not come from the general fund, does not come from the schools. This is money set aside specifically for this purpose. Historic housing saving, open space, which to me is definitely lacking in the town, even though we have massive amounts when you consider, even in my district, we can always use more. That's why I approve this funding. And finally, for housing, also a problem that we have in this town that we need to remedy. I think the mayor will be working on that at our insistence. But in the meantime, has nothing to do with tissues, and I rest my case. I say yes.
There's been a motion made by Counselor Ryan, seconded by Counselor O'Brien. Clerk Semino, a roll call, please.
Counselor Berica,
Yes.
Counselor Connors.
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Yes.
Counselor Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin,
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien,
Yay.
Counselor Ringus is not present. Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Counselor Sasha.
Yes.
That's 8 in favor.
Thank you, Clerk Semino. We have on the agenda with us tonight 2 additional public hearings. So if it is okay with the rest of the council, I'm going to move ahead to the public hearings to keep, because we have public here as well as people on the panel going to address these issues. So if nobody objects, we are moving on to item 20050. The mayor, request for appropriation, Archie T. Morrison Elementary School, outdoor classroom, or take up any action relative thereto. This is a public hearing again. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Counselor Ryan, seconded by Counselor Connors to open the public hearing. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Counselor Berica,
Yes.
Counselor Connors,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Yes.
Counselor Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin,
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien,
Aye.
Counselor Ringus is not present. Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Counselor Sasha.
Yes.
8 in favor.
Thank you. And I will now refer to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means, Counselor Berica, for the recommendation to the full council on this item.
Thank you so much, Madam President. The Ways and Means Committee met last week and sends this to the full council with a unanimous favorable recommendation. This funding is also being appropriated from our Community Preservation Act funds. I can let you know this project has been in the works for several years now. Speaking for myself, I'm absolutely delighted. This is one step closer to getting underway. And this is going to be an outdoor classroom for the use of all of our residents, young and old, to be able to enjoy the space.
Thank you, Council Baraka. So we have with us here tonight, if they would like to comment on it, we have DPW Director Jim Arsenal, Director Christine Stickney, Principal of Morrison School John Riordan, and parent Carrie Piccolo, who I believe this is Carrie's idea that came to light and is what has brought us here tonight. So with that, would any of you wish to speak on this? No, okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this?
Who?
Seeing none. I just see somebody raise their, oh, Carrie Piccolo, did we lose you?
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Just because we've been sitting on the call, I figured I'd just say hello to everybody and ask for your support for our outdoor classroom behind Morrison Elementary School. And I'm here to answer any questions.
I was going to say, since you are with us here tonight, and thank you for being so patient while we get through the other matters, just give us a little brief history. I know many of the councils, we've already heard about it, but for the general public, we do have the press with us, the BCAM, and the Ledger. So give us a overview of what's actually going to take place at Morrison School for all the students and where this idea came from.
Sure. Well, the project started back in 2018, I believe. And Morrison had approached the CPC with the idea of an outdoor classroom. Morrison's thought it was a unique project for several reasons. Our school is situated abuts Pond Meadow Park, and there's a trail path that leads to the pond behind our school. So that provides community access to this area from the Pond Meadow Park as well as from the school parking lot. Second, Morrison School is the youngest school building in the town. So we thought that made it a good opportunity for the project as well. And we were looking for a holistic approach to learning. So the outdoor classroom will be able to seat 25 to 30 students outside and provide tactical, sensory, and physical movement for kids for their learning. What else can I tell you? Morrison School had 3 Eagle Scout projects previously started in this area. So again, that started the idea for the outdoor classroom. And most recently, we've worked with a local designer, and his concept is to build 6 simple machines. So, the project will include like a wheel and axle, a lever, incline plane, pulley, and a screw and a wedge, as well as the outdoor learning center to incorporate all that type of learning.
Thank you so much. I just think this is Principal Riordan, go ahead. Thanks for being with us.
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on, go ahead.
Okay, I couldn't figure out where to raise my hand on Zoom. I got to get that down. So I just, Carrie's been great throughout this project. The simple machines is the focus of it. And quite honestly, it's gonna dress up a kind of ugly piece of land behind the school. If you picture where our loading dock is, you'd enter it from that side of the school, and it'll really dress it up nice. And again, just want to thank everyone for their support right along the way through all the different committees we've been on. And if I could just throw one last comment in, it was always the best day at school when Officer Bill was coming. If you saw him show up, you knew it was a good day. So I was so happy to hear that at the beginning. So again, thank you for all your support.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other counselors wish to speak? Counselor Ryan, I see your hand raised.
Principal Riordan, that's how you raise your hand on Zoom. So I just wanted to thank the principal, and I want to thank Kerry for coming up with this plan. And this is a great way to utilize CPA funds. And I'd like to see this at every school in Braintree. And thank you for your leadership and involvement to get this done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Councilor Connors, go ahead.
So I just want to say, I look forward to seeing the outdoor classroom done when this gets voted in, hopefully. And I think it's a great asset to Morrison.
Thank you, Councilor Connors. Anybody else? Ms. Piccolo and Mr. Riordan, thank you again for being here and for your well thought out plan. This is, I mentioned collaboration earlier, but this is another example of where the community comes together with the government, the legislative, executive senate, government, the schools, the PTOs, and brings something forward, which is a fabulous idea, wonderful addition to the schools, going to add to the educational program at Morrison, as well as it'll be open to residents. Is that correct, right? Residents will be able to partake outside of school hours as well. So well done to both of you. So with that, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Councilor Ryan, seconded by Councilor Connor to close the public hearing. Clerk Semino, a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Barica,
Yes.
Councilor Connors,
Aye.
Councilor Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilor Hume,
Aye.
Councilor Mackin,
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien,
Aye.
Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Sasha.
Yes.
That's 8 in favor.
Thank you. Congratulations. Your project is moving forward.
Well, we
Thank
got to
you,
vote on
everyone.
it first.
Oh,
though.
wait, right. We just closed the public hearing. Councilor Ryan, the motion.
Thank you for 20050. Motion that in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 44B of the general laws, with the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee, the appropriation of $100,000 from CPA unreserved fund for the capital improvement of recreation open space for the creation of outdoor classroom on the grounds of the Archie T. Morrison Elementary School located at 260 Liberty Street, Assessors Map 3030, Plot 1, conditional on the funds expended under Community Preservation Committee and the Director of Planning and Community Development, and with the school department approval. So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Councilor Ringus, seconded by Councilor Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Just a correction, that was Councilor Ryan, not Councilor Ringus.
It's out of habit. Councilor Ryan made the motion. Councilor Connors seconded. Thank you for that.
Councilor Barica,
Yes.
Councilor Connors,
Aye.
Councilor Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilor Hume,
Aye.
Councilor Mackin,
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien,
Aye.
Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Sasha.
Yes.
That's 8 in favor.
Now, congratulations, your project's moving forward. A little bit premature.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving forward with item 20054, which is also the last public hearing for this evening, if I'm not mistaken. So this is 20054 of Mayor, Transportation Infrastructure Enhancement Trust Fund, or take up any action relative thereto. It is a public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing on order 20054?
So moved.
Second.
So moved.
There's been a motion made by Councilor Ryan, seconded by Councilor Connors to open the public hearing. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Councilor Barica,
Yes.
Councilor Connors,
Aye.
Councilor Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilor Hume,
Aye.
Councilor Mackin,
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien,
Aye.
Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Sasha.
Yes.
That's 8 in favor.
Thank you, Clerk Semino, and I will refer to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means, Councilor Barica, for the recommendation to the full council.
Thank you very much, Madam President. The Ways and Means Committee met last week, and we send this to the full council with a unanimous favorable recommendation. This is a nice opportunity for us to get money back from the state, and it is our understanding it will be used to complete some of the traffic calming initiatives that were begun last year.
Thank you. Anybody from the mayor's office wish to speak? Seeing none, any counselor wish to speak on this matter? Okay, I will open it up. Oh, Council Baraka, go ahead.
Yep, thank you. This might be for Jim or Nicole. Last week at the Ways and Means Committee meeting, you mentioned the traffic calming initiatives. It was, I believe, Granite Park, Dyer Hill, and there was a third neighborhood, I think, that was gonna have their traffic calming completed. What was, did I get it right?
I don't have it with me at this moment, sorry.
Okay.
I can get that
Maybe
to
you
you.
can just send it along to us so we can
Sure.
let the residents know that they're, you know, that will be finished for them with these funds.
Yeah, you're correct. There are three that were fully approved, so.
Thank you, Director Arsenault.
Anybody else? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Council Ryan, seconded by Council Connors. A roll call vote, please, Clerk Semino.
Council Baraka,
Yes.
Council Connors,
Aye.
Council Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilor Hume, Councilor Mackin.
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien,
Aye.
Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Sasha,
Yes.
8 in favor.
Thank you, Clerk Semino. And Council Ryan, is there a motion?
Motion for 20054, that the sum of $50,219.90 received from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Transportation Infrastructure Enhancement Trust Fund be appropriated to the Department of Public Works to be spent in accordance with ST 2016 187, Section 8CI. So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Council Ryan, seconded by Council Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call vote, please.
Council Baraka,
Yes.
Council Connors,
Aye.
Councilor Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilor Hume,
Aye.
Councilor Mackin,
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien,
Aye.
Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Sasha,
Yes.
8 in favor.
Thank you, Clerk Semino. So we're going to go back to item 20049, Mayor, acceptance of donations or take up any action relative thereto. We are no longer in public hearings for the evening. If anybody has questions, you can email Clerk Semino on any other issue or put it in the chat and we will get to you after the meeting. So I will refer to the chairwoman of Committee on Ways and Means, Council Baraka, for her recommendation to the full council on this.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, the Ways and Means Committee sends this to the full council with a unanimous favorable recommendation. I think I speak on behalf of that committee in thanking former Mayor Sullivan and our anonymous donor for their gracious generosity to benefit the town.
Thank you, Council Baraka. Any other council wish to speak on this matter? Anybody from the mayor's office wish to speak? I too would like to echo Council Baraka's comments. Thank you to former Mayor Sullivan and to the anonymous donor. Without the support of donors and citizens like this, these items would not be possible. I know Braintree High School each year has more and more scholarships that they give out to students, which it is more and more necessary. So it is greatly appreciated to all who contribute to this. Council Flaherty, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
It just seemed like Mr. Arsenault was trying to get at your attention. That's all.
Oh, sorry. You know what? You're on my far right screen. Sorry. Go ahead, Director Arsenault.
I just want to let you know there actually it's the traffic calming program is on the town website and it has all of the ones that were approved there, but I'll definitely get you the list anyway. I just want to let you know it is on the website. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Flaherty. Anybody else have their hand raised? Okay. Council Ryan, is there a motion?
Yes, for 20049, acceptance of donations or take up any action related thereto. The motion is that the town of Braintree be and hereby is authorized in accordance with Section 53A of Chapter 44 of the Massachusetts General Laws to accept the following gifts upon the conditions attached and herein set forth. Donor, Joseph C. Sullivan. Gift, $40,000. Purpose, Braintree Blue Scholarship. Donor, Joseph C. Sullivan. Gift, $2,000. Veterans Donation Fund. Donor Anonymous, gift, $50,000. Purpose, Abraham Lincoln Park Walking Path. So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Council Ryan, seconded by Council Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Madam Chairman, under discussion, please.
Council
Just
Ryan.
want to say thank you to Joseph Sullivan for his generous donations. It's nice that to see that the former mayor is still making an impact in a positive way, and we miss Joe, and I hope everything's going well for him. Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you, Council Ryan. Clerk Semino.
Councilor Berica,
Yes.
Councilor Connors,
Aye.
Councilor Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilor Hume,
Aye.
Councilor Mackin,
Aye.
Councilor O'Brien,
Aye.
Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Sasha.
Yes.
That's 8 in favor.
Thank you, Clerk Semino. Moving on to item 20051, National Grid petition for Argyle Road, or take up any action relative thereto. I will refer to Council Ryan, the chairman of the Committee on the Department of Public Works, for a recommendation to the full council.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Earlier this evening, the Committee on the Department of Public Works met and is making a unanimous favorable recommendation for National Grid's petition 20051 for Argyle Road. The streets that are going to be impacted are not under moratorium. The Braintree DPW is doing the water lines over on these streets, and they want National Grid to replace their gas main as soon as possible. So that work can coincide with the water main work, and it can get done as soon as possible. Again, they're not under moratorium, these streets, so there's no conflict. Councilor Flaherty brought up a good point that she's hoping that all of the impacted residents can be informed of the work that's going on. So we asked the DPW Director, Jim Arsenault, to do that as well. So you get a favorable recommendation from the DPW subcommittee. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Council Ryan. Anybody wish to speak? Any other council wish to speak on this? Okay. Council Ryan, is there a motion?
Yes, there is. And it's for 20051, motion to install and maintain approximately 735 feet of 2-inch gas main at 3 separate locations between Audubon Ave and Gordon Road. The total main installation is 735 feet with staff recommendations. Belled. There are no underground electric utility conflicts or special requirements within this proposed scope of work. DPW, this section of Argyle Road is not under moratorium. The street has not been resurfaced in several years. Argyle Road is scheduled to have new water mains installed, and we recommend the petition for this section be granted as soon as possible so that the water main and gas main projects can be coordinated and completed in a timely manner. The petition should be granted under the normal conditions with emphasis on the requirements that the gas mains be laid outside the new water main trenches and that the trench pavement not be left low for any length of time. We also recommend that the following be added, and the following is about closing the streets. It can't be done except by Braintree staff. So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Council Ryan, seconded by Council Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Councilor Berica,
Yes.
Councilor Connors,
Aye.
Councilor Flaherty,
Yes.
Councilor Hume,
Aye.
Councilor Mackin,
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien,
Aye.
Councilor Ringus is not present. Councilor Ryan,
Aye.
Councilor Sasha,
Yes.
that's 8 in favor.
Thank you, Clerk Semino. Next on the agenda is item 20052, the National Grid petition for River Street, Railroad Street, and Hooker Street, or take up any action relative thereto. I'll again refer to Council Ryan, Chairman of the Committee on the Department of Public Works, for a recommendation to the full council.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The DPW subcommittee also met earlier tonight on this petition, and we recommend unanimously for favorable action to the full council. These streets are not under moratorium. And again, the Braintree DPW wants to do water mains replacement on these streets. So they want National Grid to get in there as soon as possible to do the gas mains over as well. Again, we talked about, Council Flaherty brought up about having people properly notified of the impact of the construction. And DPW Director James Arsenault said he would take care of that. We also had the representative from National Grid at our DPW meeting. We talked about both of these permits. And we told her since it was not very contentious, she didn't need to come to our council meeting tonight. She's probably very happy because she would have been sitting here for 2 hours waiting for her turn. So we told her that it'd be okay. The only other thing different on this one from the previous is that Bell does have a 115,000 volt oil-filled transmission line on River Street to Washington Street. And we told National Grid that they'll need to coordinate with Braintree Electric Light Department to get out there. Braintree Electric Light will have a representative on site, and it's their way of dig-safing the site. They'll mark out their infrastructure to make sure that it is not impacted during this work. So again, full favorable recommendation, unanimous. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Ryan. Any councilor wish to speak on this? Okay, seeing none, Councilor Ryan, is there a motion?
Motion for 20052, motion to install and maintain approximately 885 feet of 2-inch gas main on River Street, Railroad Street, and Hooker Street from Washington Street to the end of the main. Total main installation 885 feet with staff recommendations. Bell, please note, Bell has a 115,000 volt oil-filled transmission line located on River Street to Washington Street. Bell Engineering should be notified in advance of any excavation to be performed near this line. Bell will provide on-site support and safety personnel at no cost to the project. Please see attached drawing of the locations of services. DPW, these sections of River Street, Railroad Street, and Hooker Street are not under moratorium. The streets have not been resurfaced in several years. All the streets are scheduled to new water mains installed, and we would recommend the petition for these streets be granted as soon as possible so that both the water main and gas main projects can be coordinated and completed in a timely manner. The petition should be granted under the normal conditions with emphasis on the requirements of the gas mains be laid outside of the new water main trenches and the trench pavement not be left low for any length of time. We also recommend the following required to the permit, which is the language that the contractor can't shut down the streets. So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Councilor Ryan, seconded by Councilor Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Council Berica,
Yes.
Council Connors,
Aye.
Council Flaherty,
Yes.
Council Hume,
Aye.
Council Mackin,
Aye.
Council O'Brien,
Aye.
Council Wingus is not present. Council Ryan. Council Ryan,
Oh, yep, sorry about that. Aye.
Council Sasha,
Yes.
8 in favor.
Thank you. Moving on to new business. We have no new business tonight, so moving on to referral to the Committee on Ways and Means. Is there a referral for order 20055? Councilor
So
Ryan.
moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Councilor Ryan, seconded by Councilor Connors to refer item 20055, the mayor FY20 line item transfers or take up any action relative to the Committee on Ways and Means. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Council Berica,
Yes.
Council Connors,
Aye.
Council Flaherty,
Yes.
Council Hume,
Aye.
Council Mackin,
Yes.
Council O'Brien,
Aye.
Council Ringus is not present. Council Ryan,
Aye.
Council Sasha,
Yes.
8 in favor.
Councilor Ryan.
Madam Chairman, what about 20047? Do we need to table that, or we just?
That has been withdrawn.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I just want to say thank you to Bill Needham, who is with us tonight from BCAM recording this so residents can see this at a future date. Also, Fred Hanson is here with the Ledger. And Steve Leary from the Mayor's Office, the Mayor's Assistant, is on all of the Zoom meetings, facilitating these. So thank you, Steve, for always being with us and making this happen. And to all the department heads who were with us tonight and stayed with us through these lengthy discussions, not only tonight, but within all of the subcommittee meetings. Many of the items tonight were quite lengthy discussions. We appreciate all the work. And to the residents and to all of the counselors serving on those subcommittees, I extend my sincere thanks and gratitude to you. And with that, is there a motion? Well, our next meeting, is Wednesday, September 2nd at 7:30 p.m. This is on a Wednesday night because September 2nd is the primary, which is held, the state primary election held on Tuesday, September 1st. So Wednesday, September 2nd is our next meeting. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Counselor Ryan, seconded by Counselor Connors. Clerk Semino, roll call, please.
Counselor Barica,
Yes.
Counselor Connors,
Aye.
Counselor Flaherty,
Yes.
Counselor Hume,
Aye.
Counselor Mackin,
Aye.
Counselor O'Brien,
Aye.
Counselor Ringus is not present, Counselor Ryan,
Aye.
Counselor Sasha,
Yes.
all in favor.
Thank you, and thank you, Clerk Semino, for all your work as well, and Chief of Staff and Solicitor Cobb. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Everybody, thank you.